And yeah,
Adam,
so
I'm not going to ask you if Greta Thunberg is the Hitler of our generation to not get us to get us canceled. But I watched today a clip from Tim Dillon, great comedian, and you know
yeah,
him probably. And he had this interesting take where he philosophized on air through his dark humor that people are engaging in this globalism, globalist entertainment to worry about problems on the other side of the world, that one of the side
yeah,
effects is that you're completely disconnected from the responsibility within your own community. And he made this
hmm,
example of somebody gets Josh, your neighbor, you don't give a shit because you're focused on Gaza. And I was very interested
yeah,
to hear this is that when I'm engaged in the theater on the other side of the world, that one of the side consequences could be that I'm stopping repairing my like feeling a sense of
hmm,
responsibility for the realm of my sector. And here in Berlin right now, we have a big homeless problem and drug problem on the streets. And I feel that because we are engaging in this global theater, nobody feels called to do something about it. Do you have
yeah.
something like this in Canada also?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing. Like the big thing right now for us is that we have a very large Muslim population and everything here. So the whole Israel Gaza thing has been a thing here forever. And it's, we've had, churches getting lit on fire and all that fun
Oh,
stuff.
really?
So, oh yeah, yeah. And that's the thing is like our big thing was we had the trucker convoy. It's actually interesting. So, speaking of which, like the news and everything, my brother was just out east visiting my dad's side of the family, and my grandma's very like she's super Catholic and liberal and so on and so forth. And I guess on the news or something, they were talking about the trucker convoy because people are still in jail for that. Like they got their whole lives destroyed just because they drove a truck down a road and flew a flag. And it was one of those things where they tried deeming it as a terrorist organization and everything when it was really just truckers trying to get across the border so they could work. And now, I mean, that was, yeah, 5 years ago. That was like 20, I think it was either 20 or 21. So 4 or 5 years ago. And my grandma was basically like, you know, sweet old Catholic lady, and apparently she thinks that house arrest is too soft of a judgment for these people. It's like, but why? Like, what did they do? They didn't do anything. Like, they weren't waving guns or, then fast forward to now, we have massive protests for Palestine where you have people literally flying Hamas flags calling for the death of the West, and no one does anything about it. It's like, so where's the balance and equality there? Why is one, race or organization that's protesting, thrown in jail and deemed a terrorist organization when they weren't doing anything aggressive whatsoever, and then another organization that is completely aggressive and is very openly aggressive, nothing happens to them, and it's, oh well, they're just trying to get their view across, right? So it's, yes, it happens here, and yes, it's kind of crazy. I always remember when Trump was first running. I think I mentioned this too in the other part, but I was sitting at a bar and it was just one of those days where it was like noon, just super casual day. I was at the bar. There was like a guy to my left and a guy to my right. And of course, Trump came up on the news or whatever. And the one guy clearly made a joke. Like he just threw out a comment on Trump or whatever and was just like, haha, and then, of course, the guy on the other side of the bar immediately got defensive and basically started arguing with this guy at like noon on a Wednesday in Canada. And instantly I was like, why are we fighting? Like, we literally have no say in what happens in American politics because we're not in America. Yet every single yet this guy chooses to get into basically almost a physical altercation over something that he has absolutely no power to make a difference in. So it's, yeah, I mean, it happens everywhere. And sadly, again, I
Yeah, but
think it
that's
just comes down to that individuality. People need a reason to shout, and they don't have their own reason, so they just join the next team, and yeah. So, I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
even for us here, like we have the huge LGBTQ and stuff like that, right? I have a friend of mine who's from Iran, like born and raised in Canada here, but like his grandma's still out there and everything. And he literally just went over there like 6 months ago and almost didn't make it back because he was almost trapped in his own country, and he's Iranian. And then you talk to him about like, LGBTQ for Palestine, and it's like everyone's like, go to Palestine, like see what
Here,
happens. Like
here,
they will
one of
not
the things I,
support
I,
you.
I see, I
It's
see here
like,
today, and
yeah,
one of the wildest things for me to see was like transsexual men on the streets with Palestinian flags. I'm like, this is, they would kill you.
yeah, exactly. It's just the
They
truth,
and it's
like
like one
it's,
of the things I would say is like there was just an interview with Charlie Sheen and Tucker Carlson, and one of the sentences I heard from Charlie Sheen, I'm not sure if you've seen it, said that
Charlie Sheen and I gotta watch that.
it's one of the guys who's my dream podcast guest. I wish you would like
Yeah.
be on a podcast and say like, what the fuck this guy? But he said like that he watched a documentary on Tucker's channel on his network, and he said like, I realized I haven't done my own research in such a long time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm seeing here is that these people are just applauding and following everybody, and they don't do the actual research in seeing, for instance, like what does the Hamas charter actually say? And for instance, like I read many of the autobiographies of the great dictators because I wanted to know how were they able to lead people towards hell
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
was the thing. And I feel this is not happening anymore. Anyway, I am digressing now a little bit. If you would write an antidote for Canada, what is like? Imagine you have a a little letter that can get sent to every Canadian's home. What would be one of the
Vote
things you would speak
conservative.
about?
No, no, no. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. I think it's interesting because we just like we've always been. I think it's kind of like the United States as well, is that people forget their roots, like people forget that we all, like, I'm not native, so I did not come from this country. I'm German, Scottish, and Irish. Like I'm a potato eating, drinking storyteller, so it's crazy to me that, people, I'm one of those people that I'm all for immigration and all that kind of stuff. I don't mind, I believe in the fact that people, yeah, there's shit going on in the world, that we have plenty of space. If we can bring people in, then yeah, bring people in. But again, you have to, it's kind of like, I feel like Germany was one of the places where they actually did it, where they moved in like some 20,000, immigrants to a city of only like 10,000 locals. So it's like, it's stuff like that. It's like, of course there's going to be trouble. Of course there's going to be now the angry old people that don't like these young new people, like it just, that's human nature at that point. And so I think, we really just need to realize that we're all from somewhere else and that we can all make our lives good here. We just need to kind of, again, I think it just comes back to that, like, having respect for others and their views. It's like, yeah, okay, like I'm one of those people. I'm not going to say Muslims are bad just because they're Muslim. That's terrible. That's a terrible thought process, right? We have white supremacist groups here. You have radical Christians, radical Catholics, like there's radical anything, and especially when it comes to religion. So we've got bad apples in every group. You take a group of 100 people and probably 10 of them are going to be assholes. It's just the way it goes. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Sadly, I don't know if there is like an answer that just fixes everything. I think again, it's just the simple, like, having respect for the people around you and their views, and then, respect yourself and your own views too. Like there's no reason why we can't have our own voice.